Welcome back to the Scouty Sheep Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wade. It is August 27th, and for today's sad episode, we will be discussing the latest school/church shooting from Minneapolis. I'm covering it only in relation to Charisma News putting out just a disgusting article, perpetuating their political position, which always has to bow down to their idol, the Republican Party, and their insistence that we can never discuss gun safety when little kids are dead. Today, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old are dead. 17 other people are wounded. And Charisma News took it upon themselves to take advantage of the situation, portray Christians as the victim, and basically lie and bear false witness against the mayor, who made public comments that are very clear. So without belaboring the introduction, I'm just going to be reading part of this article, and then we're going to get into some scripture. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey denigrated the importance of prayer following a shooting at a Catholic school in the city that left 2 students dead and 17 others injured. So they lead with an absolute lie. He did not denigrate prayer. What he said, we'll get into it. It's in the article. The incident occurred during morning mass at Annunciation Catholic School when a shooter opened fire through a window in the church. He just pepper sprayed through the stained glass windows into the building, 50 to 100 shots, a parent told the Minnesota Star Tribune. With a great deal of emotion in his voice, Mayor Frey told the reporters afterwards, "Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church," the mayor added. And this is where Charisma decides to basically spit on the memory of the recently deceased two kids. In the clear subtext, the phrase words were, "Praying doesn't work. The kids were in church and God didn't protect them." Except that's not what the mayor said. What the mayor said is, don't be offering your thoughts and prayers if you don't actually do anything about the problem. And that's what we have, is we constantly see when these events happen, tragedies, absolute tragedies. The people who support, guns everywhere. Right now, this country has more guns than it has people. Think about that. And instead of doing something about the problem, cleaning up background checks, cleaning up loopholes, not having the need to have automatic and semi-automatic weapons. That's all shot down all the time by the same Republicans who then could turn around and offer thoughts and prayers. So the mayor was obviously making that point. He was making the point that, listen, do something about the problem. Stop pretending that you're pious and, this is just a time for prayer. And then when it's a time to actually solve the problem, you don't do anything. And if you want the scriptural basis for this, James chapter 2. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith, but he does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warmed and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. And you can replace the example given of a poorly clothed person lacking daily food with, what good does it do to say to somebody, "I'm going to offer my thoughts and prayers to you," and then turn around and deny the legislation that could maybe prevent the next mass shooting? That's the point. This is, I just did some quick research. This is the 57th school shooting this year, not including 22 other shootings on college campuses. So 79 school shootings so far this year, and there's still 4 months to go. These incidents have resulted in at least 15 deaths at the K-12 schools, and a total of 18 deaths and 74 injuries across all school levels. That's just school shootings. Mass shootings for this year is up to 260, with more than 9,000 gun violence incidents in the United States, resulting in over 9,700 deaths and 17,900 injuries. That's just this year. So maybe, just spitballing here, but maybe there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And yes, we can talk about mental health, and clearly this person had issues. We can talk about violence in society, and by the way, the absolute disrespect for life in this country, and the problems with social media and youth, all valid. But it's the guns that are used to kill people. And to stick your head in the sand and pretend it's not is not matching works with your faith whatsoever. And I am not, by the way, anti-gun ownership at all. I don't think the government should be the only people who have possessions of the weapons. But I think that we should at least be able to have a common sense discussion about what we can do so that maybe the next mass shooting doesn't happen, so that the families who have to bury the 8-year-old and the 10-year-old, the next time they don't. Shouldn't we want that as Christians, as pro-life people? Because this mockery of life is being perpetrated by the very people who then turn around and offer thoughts and prayers. So the mayor is not obviously making a statement against prayer, that it doesn't work, that God didn't protect them. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, don't tell me that you are offering thoughts and prayers if you're not going to match your faith with works that could result in preventing the next one. This is just the timeline of the incidences since 2012. December 14, 2012, a gunman killed 26 people, including 26 and 7-year-old children in Sandy Hook. As a Democrat senator and a Republican senator put forward a bill to strengthen background checks. And guess what happened? It lost. The vote lost. It was defeated. 54 to 46. Charleston, 2015, 9 dead. June 17th, a white gunman shot and killed 9 black people attending a Bible study at an African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. What was proposed after that was Democrats proposed a closing of the Charleston loophole, which allows gun dealers, to complete gun sales if a criminal background check takes longer than 3 business days. So you got that? So the law allows for gun sales without a background check if it takes longer than 3 days to do the background check. Does that make any sense to anybody whatsoever? And the Republicans, who control both chambers of Congress, never brought it for a vote. San Bernardino, we're still in 2015, 14 dead. Married couple described by federal officials as supporters of the Islamic State fired automatic weapons at community members, killing 14 people. A clone, or the same bill that from Sandy Hook was offered again, failed again, 54 to 45. Pulse nightclub in Orlando, 49 people dead. After the Senate deadlocked along party lines on amendments to block people on federal terrorism watch lists from buying guns. That's insane. If you're on a federal terrorism watch list, why in the world should you be allowed to buy guns? By the way, the shooter in today's incident legally purchased all 3 of the guns that he used. All 4 measures failed to gain the 60 votes needed. Las Vegas, 2017, 60 people dead. Bipartisan ban on bump stocks, which allow a semi-automatic rifle to basically behave like an automatic rifle, firing hundreds of rounds per minute. When it was revealed the gunman outfitted firearms with bump stocks, members of both parties moved to ban them. But the efforts in Congress stalled, although how they voted, it did not receive a floor vote. Sutherland Springs, 2017, 26 more people dead. Another piece of legislation died in the Senate, 65 to 32. I'm sorry, that one actually passed. So, and kudos to President Trump, who signed it into law. So we have one thing. Parkland, Florida, 2018, 17 people dead, including 14 students. Marco Rubio introduced a red flag bill seeking to give law enforcement the ability to restrict gun access for unstable, potentially violent people. Rubio's bill, which he had reintroduced twice, never received a floor vote. So you're getting the point, I think. We got a problem. We got a lot of problems in this country. And it's certainly myopic to assume that the problem can only be achieved through sensible gun legislation, but it should be part of the discussion. And that was the point the mayor, who was angry and rightfully angry at the time, was trying to make. But Charisma News, in their effort to idolize the Republican Party, lied and bore false witness against the mayor, claimed that he was saying prayer doesn't work. The mayor closes remarks, and Charisma mocks it with a good enough sentiment, saying to families that are suffering, to those who experience loss, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be with you every step of the way. We love you. This act of evil should never happen, and it happens far too often. And then Charisma goes on to play politics once again and spit on the memory of the recently deceased. Says he will no doubt be calling for greater gun control laws. That's the Democrat mantra. And other left-wing officials in the past have said that mass shootings, that stricter gun laws are needed, not thoughts and prayers. And it's not that. Their point again is, don't tell me, don't feed me your faux piety if you're not going to match your faith with works. Frey at least acknowledged that the shooter would engage in an act of evil. I think we always do. The mayor, who is Jewish, said his faith is important to him, is no doubt aware of the Ten Commandments, which God instructs people, thou shalt not murder. Yeah, but God also says we have to be wise, right? It says that we should care for one another. So the fact that, Charisma's acting like just because the Bible says you shall not murder, that takes care of everything. So everything, it just falls on that. The 8-year-old, the 10-year-old, who cares? We'll just move on to the next mass shooting, and we'll offer thoughts and prayers at that time. Frey's takeaway from Tuesday's shooting should not be that prayer does not work, which he did not say, or people should pray less, but that the more of God's kingdom needs to be manifested on earth. Thy will be done. Yeah, I just, the thought that if Jesus was walking the earth today, he would not be for common sense gun control is asinine. It is just, but again, the main point here that I wanted to make is, what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing as a church when we idolize politicians that offer thoughts and prayers, violate James, and then don't match those thoughts and prayers with anything meaningful whatsoever? Any of the shootings that I referenced in the past, if any of those legislations had actually passed, maybe the shooting doesn't happen today. Maybe that 8-year-old is still alive. Maybe that 10-year-old is still alive. Don't tell me you're pro-life. Just don't. Don't tell me you're pro-life and that you're going to offer your prayers, and then you're going to turn around and support, blocking any kind of legislation that might have a chance of preventing something like this in the future. You can't just throw your hands up in the air and go, well, people are evil. Do I still have this? Somebody said, somebody made a comment like, even if he didn't have access to the guns, he obviously hated people enough, he would have killed them with a car. I mean, are you serious? Do we have to make it easy for people to kill each other? And this is not a political opinion. This is a Christian. It's a biblical discussion. For people that like to talk about pro-life issues, we seemingly are callous if the issue rubs against our politics. There's no reason why a 23-year-old which I believe is how old the shooter was, who then took his own life, should be able to so easily purchase 3 guns. No questions. We're the only industrialized country that has this problem. And the reason we have this problem is that people use thoughts and prayers as a shield to not have to fix the problem, to not have to try. Just try. Try to discuss fixing the problem. Be comprehensive. Include in the bill efforts for, curbing violence overall, efforts for improving mental health. You can include it in like national days of prayer. That's fine. But there has to be something to try and stem the ease at which people buy weapons of war that they then shoot and kill 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds. The Charisma News, I know they won't be, but they should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely be ashamed. And anybody who calls themselves Christian should not support them. I'm sorry. This article, hours after parents found out that they lost their children, seeks to victimize the church as if somehow, the evil leftists are, denigrating God and prayer. No, he was just making the point. These people were in church. They were praying. Not that it doesn't work. He wasn't saying that. Listen, I know it can be a touchy subject. So leave your comments, but be kind. Reasonable people can always disagree. I don't think that you can make a biblical argument, though. I just don't. I mean, more than welcome to hear it. What happened today should not have happened. And the question is, what are we going to do about it moving forward? And maybe we should read the book of James and match our faith with works. Test everything and hold fast.